Hello, welcome to The Defender, Wisconsin's environmental podcast. I'm Amy Barrilleaux. The Defender is powered by Clean Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. So I have an interesting question. What do you think it sounds like on a solar farm? Well, a visit to Tyto Solar Project in Fitchburg might surprise you.
Cheep, 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 cheep. Come on, girls. Cheep, 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 cheep. Come on.
Yep, it's a bunch of sheep. It turns out more and more solar farms in Wisconsin are becoming actual farms for livestock. On this episode, we'll meet some sheep, learn about energy, and find out why livestock farmers in Wisconsin are getting excited about solar. That's right now on The Defender. Nestled in the middle of some conventional cornfields in Dane County, there's a pretty unconventional farm. MG&E's Tyto Solar Project is home to about 13,000 solar panels, a whole bunch of thriving plants, and a flock of happy sheep. I headed there to meet John Armstrong, the manager of renewable engineering at Madison Gas and Electric, and eventually run into Beau Stafford from Wiscovery Farm to find out how this solar and sheep farm came to be. We just walked in the fence line, I guess, for this solar project. Explain to me what we're looking at here.
So right now we're looking at a sheep grazing mixed site. So what that means is we worked with a sheep grazer, and we seeded the site with a mix that would work well with sheep. And what we're trying to do is reduce our O&M costs and utilize a different type of mowing practice. Instead of normal mowing practices, we're utilizing sheep to graze our fields.
We're here at ground level. It doesn't really look that big when you're standing next to it. How many, homes does this solar project power?
Great question. So this powers about 1,300 homes a year. We're on about 30 acres of land right now. That'll be pretty standard, but you can bump that number up based on the panels you get, the efficiencies of the cabling throughout your site, but in general, this is like a good estimate, about 1,300 homes.
Okay, so as we're walking here, there's a little dirt road that we're on, and either side we've got panels, but we've also got, you called it a mix, but like a whole bunch of different plants here, and these plants are supposed to be, tasty for sheep?
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah, we have a couple different mixes throughout our service territory. So this is one of our 6 distribution tied solar projects. A few of our other sites use a Wisconsin native pollinator mix. So lots of blooming flowers all throughout the year. This one has a little bit less blooming flowers throughout the year, but if you had a video camera, you could see there are still like black-eyed Susans. I can see where I'm standing. But this one is more focused on keeping the sheep happy and healthy.
Speaking of sheep, we can see them grazing off in the distance. So this is what you're using instead of mowing this property?
Yeah, the sheep they're honestly doing a fantastic job. They will sit at this site, and Beau will use a sort of device on their collars, almost like an electrical fence for a dog. And it'll beep at them when they're outside their GPS zone of where they should eat for the day. And he actually just uses an app on his phone to move the sheep. So he calls them paddocks. He'll move them paddock to paddock each day and have the whole site grazed eventually after X number of days. Let's say after 15 days, maybe the whole site will be grazed. But yeah, they do a great job. I would argue that they do a better job than mowing. They don't leave thatch behind. So when you cut vegetation down, that vegetation falls to the ground. You have a foot or two of vegetation just laying on the ground that dries up and it becomes a layer of thatch. When you have sheep, they eat it and they poop it out and there's no thatch. So it's a really good way to keep your vegetation healthy and happy.
This is just a normal project that MG&E has, normal solar project. What, inspired MG&E to say, hey, let's get some sheep out here in the middle of our solar panels?
It was a really cool opportunity. So One Energy was the developer of this project, and they presented it to us a couple of years ago. And they had a public hearing down at the Fitchburg Library. And one of the people that came to that hearing was Beau, and he mentioned that he had a farm nearby, and he was talking about his organic farm, and that he's interested in all sorts of cool new ways to do farming. And so One Energy and Beau kind of got in this relationship, and Beau was like, I could try sheep grazing on the property. I live right next door. So we just got to talking, Beau, One Energy, and MG&E, and it really was just like a perfect situation where it was a great site to just try out, like pilot sheep grazing.
And so this site opened in 2024. How long has it been grazed? Has it been like from the very beginning?
Yep. Yeah. So they had to do one cut of mowing to let the vegetation really take hold from their root system. If you have sheep trample on it the first year, you could really, really damage their root system. So it was just one mow, and then the sheep were welcomed on, and they've been going to town ever since. So yeah, what you see is a sheep graze site right now.
What was it like for you the first time you came out here and saw this site as we're seeing it today, with really healthy vegetation everywhere, under the panels, around the panels, and then a bunch of happy, active sheep out there?
I mean, it's so cool. It's really fun to have the sheep here. Great way to get the community excited. I feel like I've done a lot of tours, and it's like the grand finale almost, is like, okay, where are the sheep at? Let's check out the sheep. So I think it's been a home run. It's worked really well. And I'm kind of excited to see what they do as Beau ramps up his services even more, maybe more sheep, more sites. So yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Explain to me, I guess, what your job is at MG&E, and I think we'll just keep walking toward the sheep as we eventually we'll arrive at the sheep. What is your kind of role over at MG&E?
So I'm the manager of renewable engineering. We're a small group, but mighty, I'll say. So we deal with capital projects and the maintenance. So we're focused on wind projects, solar projects, and battery storage projects. So our group is building 3 new battery storage projects this year, and then next year we're building the Sunnyside Energy Center, and then a couple more distribution tied projects. But the Sunnyside Energy Center is 20 megawatts of solar and 40 megawatts of batteries. So we're involved in new projects, and then we're also involved with maintaining the site. So we're this project right now, Tyto. It's maintained by One Energy, but we also have a few of our own sites that we're maintaining ourselves. So kind of doing a whole slew of things.
Is this an exciting time? I mean, you're not only you're building solar projects and battery storage projects, and now you got sheep on there. It feels like there's a lot of new stuff happening all at once.
Oh yeah, this is an amazing time to be a electrical engineer at a utility. I really love it. I'm just thinking, if you were an electrical engineer in a utility several decades ago, it was pretty obvious what you were building. It was coal or natural gas generation, and now there seems to be so many different mix of generation you can build.
So what got you interested in this? I mean, I guess you're an electrical engineer by training. So how did you sort of think, okay, clean renewable energy is a good path?
Not to sound cheesy, but I guess kind of just as a kid, I've always wanted to, help the earth, help the world. So I really liked math growing up and engineering. So this was just kind of like a natural fit for me. So yeah, it's just kind of where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be.
We're starting to hear the sheep. I don't know if we can hear them on this microphone or not, but they're definitely wondering who we are right now. So you started working, have you always worked on clean energy projects, or did you get training back when you were in school for solar and things like that?
Not really, not until I joined the workforce really was when the training started. Before that, my initial entry into the workforce was a field engineer doing transmission line work and substation work, and then I carried over into the renewable space. So yeah, didn't have as much training as I feel like now, like University of Wisconsin, there's a lot of renewable classes you can take. Back in 2010-ish time period, wasn't as many renewable classes. So yeah, didn't have as much training as maybe students do now.
Do you ever think, as we're standing here and we're watching sheep really literally running underneath the panels, apparently excited there for a second when we when we came up. Did you ever think that you were going to be standing in the middle of a solar project with sheep, giving people tours?
Well, I'm trying to push MG&E to try other animals too. It's been so fun, but no, I've never thought that this was gonna be a reality. This is just a cool project to be a part of.
Tell me about other plans that MG&E might have, because I think right now people might be feeling like, clean energy was being well supported, and now maybe the rug's being yanked out a little. So I think it can be helpful for people to hear about more projects like this one.
So MG&E still, and here comes Beau. MG still has their 2030 carbon goals, so we still want to be 80% carbon neutral from our 2005 numbers. So that is still happening. We still have our 2050 goals of being carbon neutral. So people shouldn't get disheartened by change of political atmosphere. We're still building solar projects. We're looking for wind projects throughout Wisconsin and Iowa. So I would say it's just going to be a little more challenging.
All right, thanks. And you mentioned Beau pulled up on the four-wheeler, it looks like. So
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Beau.
Thank you for meeting me out here today. I've already heard a lot about you.
Oh, boy.
All good things.
Oh, no.
Not the bad. We left out the bad stuff.
We'll leave all the good stuff for the sheep.
Yeah. The sheep kind of took off when we got close, like we were untrusted interlopers.
Yeah, they don't see many visitors, They kind of keep to themselves. They're hard at work right now, so you gotta, let them do their thing, and they're happy though. They're spread out really well and having a good time, so you probably didn't bother them too much.
As long as there's food, I think they're happy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we were just talking about how this came to be. I guess it started with you hearing that there was going to be a solar project nearby. So first, tell me about your farm and then how you got connected here.
Yeah, so we own a 56-acre farm, just kitty corner to the solar site, or the solar site property. And we bought the farm in 2019. And then we started with organic small square hay. And then we did some compost here and there. And then we started with sheep. We wanted to get into livestock eventually. And originally we were thinking maybe we'd get some feeder calves, something easy. But then had a meeting with One Energy, a community meeting, when they were about to build the site. And we showed up there. I was worried about what they would plant here and how it would impact our farm and the hay that we produce. And after a while talking to them, they said, well, have you ever raised sheep? And I thought, well, yeah, when I was a kid, I did some, fair projects and stuff. And then my wife and I talked it over, and we said, well, maybe sheep is the way to go. We have young kids. We had a 2 and 4 year old at the time. Thought, well, maybe, cows might be a little big for them. And then, we got our first flock of sheep, and then worked with MG&E to do the solar grazing contract. And now we've been solar grazing. So.
And so what do you use the sheep for? Wool, or what are you actually making with the sheep?
So this breed is a Katahdin breed, so they're a meat breed. So we usually take them to market once they reach, about 100 to 120 pounds. That's usually about the best weight. And then, the boys will go to market, and the girls will stay here because, we need more and more sheep.
So if you were to not have a place to graze the sheep, if you only had, your land, how would that work out?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So we only have 56 acres. So we're, first generation farm. We started small, and we would have a flock of about 100 sheep that we could comfortably maintain at our place, doing rotational grazing while also producing enough hay for the winter. But by having this ground here at Tyto, we're able to increase our flock size because we can save our land for the hay production, and then the sheep can be grazing in the summer here.
And so they're looking pretty happy. They're kind of spread out all around and under the solar panels. How many sheep are here, and how long are they going to stay and eat?
Sure, yeah. We have 145 on site right now. We just added about 25 just because with the amount of rain that we're having. We needed to up our stocking density. As you can see, things have really taken off here. So they're doing a good job on everything. We worked them around the edge of the site, and now they're coming back. We'll keep them on site. They're doing about 1.6 acres per day, I'd say. Comfortably, the lambs have reached that point where they're really starting to feed. So we're starting to increase the paddock size daily. So we move them daily, and they're able to just chew through it and do a good job.
So what's the reaction of people when you tell them, oh yeah, I'm a farmer and I raise sheep and I bring them to solar projects to basically maintain the land around the panels?
Most farmers, I'd say, have heard about it. Most typical people think, well, that's a really cool idea. They like the idea of blending renewable energy generation with agriculture instead of just doing one or the other. And it's worked really well for us. A lot of people don't really know what it takes for animal husbandry practices and things like that. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, not just on site, but also making sure the sheep are healthy, that they're happy, that especially for breeding season and things like that, making sure we have enough stocking density for next year. That a lot of people, when we tell them we have baby lambs, that's when their eyes light up, because who doesn't want to cuddle a baby lamb, right? Yeah.
That's true, but it's the big sheep that are doing the real eating, it looks down.
That's right, yep. Now the big sheep are doing a lot of the eating, but even early in the season, the ewes that are still nursing their lambs need a lot more calories to keep up. So they're eating in overdrive early in the season, which is really good, so they can chew down the vegetation well. And then the lambs start to transition more to grazing on vegetation. So that's where we're at right now. The lamb size has really taken off.
Okay, so we've got some hungry, I guess, adolescent sheep out here.
Exactly.
What was it like the first time you brought the sheep out to this project to start eating and taking care of the land?
That's a good question. We really didn't know what to expect. I had heard of solar grazing. I know that sheep eat vegetation. I know, outside of the panels and outside of a solar site, they'll do a really good job on keeping vegetation low and controlled. And I knew that they would do that. The one question I thought in the back of my head was, how are they going to do on the weeds? How are they going to do, with around equipment and things like that? Honestly, they've exceeded every expectation I had for them. The first thing they go for is the weeds. Then they go after the grass. They love it. And the panels, you could see the sheep are really spread out on this site. Typically when sheep are spread out, that means they're really calm. When they get really close together, they flock together and they stay close. That's usually when they're scared or they're threatened. And on site, we regularly see them spaced out all throughout.
Before this, had you ever been up this close to a solar panel before?
Not on a solar generation site like this, but for a home and things like that, I've been kind of around them. Never really worked around them. But yeah, this is, I guess, the first time for, you wouldn't call it necessarily utility scale, but yeah, something like that.
I mean, when you first started out deciding to become a farmer, did you ever picture yourself becoming a farmer among solar panels like this?
Not at all. No, when we bought the farm, we thought, well, we want to raise our kids on a farm. We want to have that experience for them. And I thought I'd be driving my tractor around in circles and paying the mortgage that way. But honestly, this has been a lot more fun, a lot more interesting. It's been cool because I feel like we're kind of more on the cutting edge of agricultural practices, and it's been really exciting.
Are your kids excited about what you do? Because it feels, like this is kind of like the future and the past meeting.
They are. Obviously, we can't bring them out on site often, but we had an event last year where the governor came, and I was able to have the kids there, and they were running up and down here. They were having a blast.
So do you ever talk to people who are surprised that there can be so much good sheep food growing around the solar panels, that there's so much, I guess, life in a project area like this?
I don't know. I think that most people think that there is quite a bit of vegetation. I think everyone just assumes somebody comes in and mows it. They don't think of, well, maybe grazing could work because they don't understand the idea of grazing or managed grazing. So when I explain it to them that, we offer fresh vegetation every day, it's like offering fresh veggies to your family every day. The sheep get big, they're healthier, they do a really good job of growing, which works well for us because, we're a farm first and then a solar grazer. So, our goal is to make sure that we have marketable sheep and they produce well. And then the benefit of having them at a solar site, just for land use, especially as we discussed, but also for the health of the animals.
And this now is not the only site where you are grazing sheep, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, we're doing 3 sites right now. So we just had them here first, and then we sent them over to Hermsdorf, and that's a pollinator planted site. Did a really good job there. Then they came back here because the vegetation was starting to get up, and then we'll send them over to Strix next, about a mile from here or so.
How long is it going to take these sheep to take care of? I mean, it's a lot of vegetation here, so to kind of bring this back where it needs to be.
Well, I think we have them scheduled for 21 days on site here, and they just started last week. So they're just starting to do this site. They're doing about 1.6 acres per day, so they should be through in about 21 days.
Great. I was going to see if maybe we could get closer to some of these sheep out. Maybe over there.
Yeah, we
We'll
could
see.
probably the key to them is just going real slow and, acting like, nothing out of norm, or out of sorts.
And this is not the pollinator mix, this is the sheep mix, but it's like tons of butterflies and bees around here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of pollinators on site, a lot of bees. We got grasshopper season right now, so you got grasshoppers everywhere.
Is that what the things are that I think are butterflies?
Yeah, probably. But there are butterflies. We've seen them, quite a few of them, moths and things like that. Yeah, they might be getting keen to us now.
They have little bells around their necks?
Those are collars designed for virtual fencing. So the sheep, normally what you'd want to do is if you want to graze them, you would move polywire to keep them in a fenced-in area for a certain amount of time so that they consume the vegetation. But with this, we received a grant to be able to have virtual collars or virtual fencing. So on my phone, I can set the outline of the paddock for them to be in. And then you might hear this high-pitched noise when they start to approach the site boundary or the paddock boundary. And then that will alert them to turn back. And if they don't, then they receive a pulse to just remind them, like, hey, get back into the paddock.
And you said you got a grant. Was this a federal grant or?
We got it through Dane County. Dane County offers it for increasing. I don't think it's a transition to grass type of program, but it's offered through them to enhance agriculture for grazing operations and make things better for land management. And then we received a private grant actually through the Fund for Lake Michigan.
So these sheep look, I mean, I see there's one over there, and that little guy, I guess, is right next to a pole that's in the ground, like doesn't care about the panels or anything, not afraid.
Oh yeah, the interesting thing is these poles actually go down pretty far into the ground, and they actually transfer the cooler air up through. So I'll find them with their heads kind of wrapped around the posts and things like that, just for them to stay cool.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's like hugging the.
Yeah. He likes it. No, that's a she.
I knew I was going to make a mistake.
Yeah, left ear with the tag is the lady, and right ear is a ram. Yep. So, yep, she's having a good time. And then obviously the shade, you could see them. They're just tucked in and, hanging out, chewing their cud, getting ready to go back to work.
What is your hope, I guess, for the future of this kind of farming, which is known officially as agrivoltaics, which is not a great easy word to say, but what's your hope for where this all leads?
Well, I hope that as we start to adopt more and more solar energy generation, that everyone thinks first, well, how can we enhance agriculture, especially for younger generation farmers? We have a pretty big issue right now where the average age of farmers in the United States, I believe, is 59, and that's going to be turning over considerably. Young people and having access to farmland is really important, and these situations offer an alternative, offer an option for maybe it be solar grazing or vegetable production or some other type of agriculture. I think it would be really important for folks to at least consider the impacts of agriculture. This is Sweetie Pie. She's named after my 5-year-old daughter. There's probably
She marched right up to you.
Oh yeah, there's probably about 7 Sweetie Pies out here, just so you know. But no, she's great. She was a great mom, and she's done a wonderful job, haven't you? Yeah, she was the one that was trying to climb on the governor. So.
Well, she knows who's important in a situation, and that makes sense.
Right?
Well, thank you so much for, taking me out here and explaining all this. I really appreciate it, and I think obviously you have some very healthy, happy sheep here, so thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to The Defender. To find out how you can support solar and wind projects happening in Wisconsin, check out the show notes or log on to cleanwisconsin.org. I'll also have a link to photos of the farm and videos of lots of sheep. I'm Amy Barrilleaux. Talk to you later.